All right. I'd like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Ruchakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is They Took the Bag and Forsook the Lord. Yeah, even including this guy Geno Jennings, so-called Apostle Geno Jennings. Pretty much, as you can see, I'm back on my channel. I guess I didn't realize that the strike was up, so I'm back on the channel because I usually have to change it to another channel in order to go live. So when I clicked on the go live, it was like, oh, I gotta switch it up, but then it said that I was good to go. So I said, all right, cool. So nevertheless, here we are. This lesson pretty much, this is set up, through the Spirit, of course, based off of these so-called pastors, in the churches and Israelite leaders, that call themselves Israelites, but that took the bag also. I usually do my lessons outside, but the weather ain't that great. It's kind of drizzling, kind of be raining off and on today, so I decided just to do it in the truck, just in case, the rain comes down and I could at least just roll the windows up. But nevertheless, with all the information coming out, in this society, that's leading everything to the end, it's clear, who the Heavenly Father, whose message the Heavenly Father is with, You had plantation Christianity for centuries, and even, now, you had many different so-called pastors and leaders among Esau, among Jake, coming up, with that plantation Christianity nonsense. And, there were certain things that they got right if, they did any studying or followed some of the quote-unquote scholars, of plantation Christianity, because, they, as far as history is concerned, they know certain things. Certain prophecies, are speaking and they're evident, so they're speaking about, these things also. And the main prophecy that we're focusing on right now is the MOTB, because the MOTB is what's prevalent right now in the news. You got the WEC, the World Economic Forum, pushing out through, Klaus Schwab and others. Then this other devil, Yuval Noah Harari, pushing out the agenda of the New World Order, because pretty much the agenda of the New World Order is based on world economy. There were three things that came to mind, earlier. I should have wrote them down, but pretty much they engulf the whole New World Order agenda. And one of the main things is pretty much a world economy. There were a couple others, if it comes back, and I'll bring it out, but that's some of the main, some of the main things that they're discussing. And Carl Schwab is discussing, talking about, how, they're setting pretty much the stage that they set up, for the world, for the world agenda. And this guy Harari's talking about, people being tracked subdermally, so, which is under the skin. And those are the main things that are being pushed out there. Now, as far as Apostle Geno Jennings, that demon, years ago, which Elder Apostle did a video on it, Elder Apostle Gabar did a video on it, and I'm pretty sure other brothers did too. Elder Apostle brought out the point that he says that the Most High is not a black man, so-called black man, implying that he's a so-called white man, pretty much, because he took the bag. But then years ago he said that the Most High was not a so-called white man, so pretty much he's backtracking, because he took that bag. And when you take that bag, pretty much you can't bite the hand that feeds you, so to speak. So with them individuals in the churches, and you have Israelites within Israel that know that they're Israelites teaching against the MOTB and teaching against other doctrines that are coming out. What the hell? Teaching against other doctrines that are coming out. The reason why is because they took the bag. As tractor trailer riding through here with no tire, just a rim. Just when you thought you seen it all. All right, so you know they've taken the bag, and that's why they are going against the doctrine, and they can't speak. You know, for even this guy Mike from the RTD, Rethinking the Dollar. Even he has a meme where he is. Even he has a meme where, of course, it's Jake too driving it. Even he has a meme where he's sitting there. I think he has something over his mouth. His both his hands got handcuffs on him, and it says 501c3, because that's exactly what it is. That whole thing is predicated upon stifling the word, you know, and a gag on speaking about certain things. That's why these so-called leaders, even though it's evident that the MOTB is the C to the H to the I to the P, they teach against it staunchly because they took that bag. You know, they took the bag, plus also, you know, they have that 501c3 charter, and that 501c3 charter does not allow them to speak about certain things. Now, when they speak about the MOTB, and they say that it's not the C to the H to the I to the P, then, you know, they are allowed to do that. Just like if they speak about the Lord's name and they make fun of it, they're allowed to do certain things like that, you know. But anyway, enough of the rambling. You know, I'm just trying to paint the picture through the spirit of these so-called leaders that call themselves leaders among the plantation Christian community and the Israelite, the ones that know that they're Israelites, how they pretty much sold out, and pretty much they cast the Lord out. And remember, this is nothing new. Back during the Greek Empire and many others, the Roman Empire, you had Israelites. Matter of fact, let's start off with that. You had Israelites that forsook the Lord. And a lot of the ones that forsook the Lord happened to be, you know, higher ups, you know, in the in rank, so to speak, you know, for lack of better words. They were higher up in rank, and they sold out because they had a cushy position. They were established. They were making money, and they didn't want to mess up, you know, they didn't want to mess that money up. So St. John 11:47 says, "Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council and said, what do we, for this man doeth many miracles?" So basically what they were saying is, we have to do something about this man because he's disrupting, you know, the normal thing, this thing that we got going on. You know, we were set up in this position, and what he's doing is he's messing it up by doing these great miracles, and the people are going to start turning away from us and turning to him. So the Romans will not need, you know, us to pacify the people, because that's pretty much what the leaders of Israel today are, you know, that are outside of the Israelite thing. And even in it, they're nothing more than pacifists or pacifiers of the rest of Israel, for lack of better words. All right, it says, if we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him. And see, this is the problem with plantation Christianity, is that the teachings are going out so heavy. Like Yahushua said, I will give you a mouth with wisdom that none of your adversaries will be able to gainsay nor resist. So the teachings are going out so heavy that they cannot help but listen, and they're looking, and they're like considering, you know, what's being said, what's being taught, and they're looking at the way that the plantation Christianity teaches, and they see that it's the same old song done over and over and over and over again, with nothing to benefit from. You know, they're not benefiting from the knowledge. They're not learning anything except how to sing and dance, You know, they're not really learning the scriptures, but then they see the Israelites out there going into the scriptures, breaking the scriptures down, you know, marrying, you know, one part of the Bible with the other part of the Bible, going and through precepts, linking up, you know, doing, you know, link ups between the Old Testament and the New Testament, explaining certain things, going into prophecy. And they're being swayed away from that plantation Christian mindset, which was a deceptive mindset to keep our people down and keep our people deceived. So it says, if we let him alone, if we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation, because they took the bag back then. You know, they had permission from the Roman Empire. The Lord gave us laws, statutes, and commandments, right? He said, let's go to Exodus 23, I believe it is. And, yep, this is it. And the Lord gave us laws, statutes, and commandments, how to govern ourselves, what to do, how to be. We didn't need permission from any nation to do anything. We didn't have to go before any nation to ask for any types of permission. Now, when we were in captivity under them, you know, as in the case of the Medo-Persian Empire, where the Lord set them up specifically to allow us to build the temple up, you know, you had men like Nehemiah and Ezra, specifically Nehemiah, he was a governor, but he was a cup holder to the king. You know, he asked the king if he, you know, because the king saw that he was sad, and he asked the king if he would allow him to go with his people to rebuild back Jerusalem. And that was already decreed that was going to happen, because Cyrus had already set up and gave certain cattle, certain livestock, certain monies to build the temple up, you know. So in that case, that was already set up by the Lord. But for the most part, when it comes to teaching his word, we don't have to go to this devil to get anything from them, any types of permissions. So Exodus 23 and 32 says, thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor with their gods. Right. Now this is going back specifically to the time of the Canaanites, but this also applies to the other nations, you know, because we're not to make any covenants or any agreements with any of them, because the Heavenly Father already gave us the covenant, the establishment, the contract that we needed, and the permission that we needed, and the leaders that we needed to push this word out. So when the wicked Pharisees and them saw that Yahushua was creating miracles and people were believing on him, what it was doing, it was pulling away the followers of the Pharisees and them, of this what they call so-called Sanhedrin. They were pulling them away from them and having them follow behind Yahushua. The same thing that they did with the apostles, the same thing that they did with the apostle Paul and the men that were with them. You know, you had those that were being freed mentally, you know, spiritually. You know, they were spiritually blind, and then they were spiritually blind, and then they spiritually got sight. So they were starting to leave that whole mindset of being under the commandment of men and coming back to the Most High Yahweh through his son Yahushua. So these wicked Pharisees and them had a problem with that. And this is the same thing with the leaders today. This is why, before we read back in St. John, this is why it says here in the book of Isaiah, the 9th chapter, we're going to start at I'm going to start at 13. It says, for the people turneth not unto him that smited them, neither do they seek the Lord Yahweh, the power of hosts. Yeah, because the Lord is the one that has these curses upon us, and Jake is not turning to the Lord. They're turning to plantation Christianity in these times. Back then they were turning to the idols, which plantation Christianity, these different philosophies, you know, social constructs or whatever have you, these are all idols that Jake is worshiping today. It says, therefore the Lord will cut off from Israel head and tail, branch and rush in one day. The ancient and honorable, he is the head, because you have older Jakes that are supposed to be leaders, you know, a multitude of years should speak or something like that, or have wisdom. I know there's one in pretty much the Lord called the ancients for their wisdom, right? The hoary head. It says, and the prophet that teacheth lies, he is the tail. So this is what Jacob's being led by. That's why Yahweh Shah said that broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be that go in thereat, because they're not going to follow, the proper way to get to the Lord, because that way only one man at a time can go that way. Because even King Solomon said that. He said, among men I found 1 in 1,000. So 1 in 1,000 Israelite men would be righteous. Like just to give you an example, a carnal example, you had the bishop Bishop Ainab sent me a video with this guy Tony Yayo, right? And pretty much he was a member of the G Unit family, that whole thing, and they broke up. And this guy Vlad was asking him a question if they would ever get back, or blah blah blah, whatever the case may be. And pretty much he was telling them that, look, the way you could trust somebody is if you can trust them around your woman, if you can trust them around your money, and if you can trust them, I forget the other one he said, and he said, look, when I was around 50, his woman be there, I'm not looking at her, I'm not trying to get with her, I don't want his main chick, I don't want his side chick, I don't want none of that. They left $1 million around me one time, I didn't touch none of it because that's not my money. I want to make my own, so pretty much this is an example of somebody that has some kind of character in the world, that has some kind of character. So King Solomon said, after examining 1,000 men, he found one man that is righteous, that will do the right thing. Not we all corrupt. Every man is corrupt. Every man is a liar. Every man is a that's why we need Yahweh Shai. But for the most part, you have those men that are honest and sincere and have some type of character. So it says, it goes on to say, for the leaders of this people cause them to err, commit errors, and they that are led of them are destroyed. Right. So the ones that are led of them are destroyed. Why? Because the Lord has not opened up their minds to be able to see the truth. And within these leaders, the majority of these leaders are corrupt. The leaders in the Plantation Christian Church, you might have a handful of them that are really honest and sincere. They're just lost, but for the most part, in order to be in that predicament, in that situation, or in that field, you have to be corrupt. That's how you make money. If you're honest and sincere, you're not going to make money. Here you got another example. This Eustace Mullins, the historian Eustace Mullins, right? He was honest, he was sincere. He brought out a lot of good information. He went off a little here and there, but for the most part, the knowledge that he had was spot on. And he was pretty much a poor man. He just had just enough to get by. Because he was honest. He wasn't there to rip people off. And that's how it goes down. So in these leaders out here, you might have a handful of them that are sincere, but for the most part, they're corrupt. They're nothing more than evening wolves. They're looking for ways, to be able to rip people off. And this is why the scriptures speak about not to do this work for filthy lucre's sake. If you teach the word, you're supposed to get paid for teaching the word, but don't do it for filthy lucre's sake. This truth is all about, teaching this truth in sincerity, so that those out there that are listening can receive the word and be delivered. The Israelites out there, that are part of the elect, because we ain't sealing nobody, we ain't gathering nobody. All we doing is teaching the word. The Heavenly Father is the one that's gathering. All we doing is teaching the word. We ain't trying to get the elect, we ain't trying to get nobody. We're just teaching the word, and the Lord is the one that's gathering the elect. We can't do any of that because we don't know who the elect are. The Heavenly Father knows who the elect are. So every time the word goes out and we teach, when it enters into the mind of the elect, that's when that individual is sealed. And who is doing it? The Most High. Because like the Apostle Paul said, Paul planted, Apollos watered, but the Most High gave the increase, not us. I know sometimes brothers say, well, all we're doing out here is we're just trying to get the elect. We ain't trying to get nobody. All we're doing is teaching the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. The Lord is the one that's seeking his people. He said that I will search Jerusalem with candles. We ain't trying to gather nobody. All we're doing is teaching the word, and the Lord is doing the gathering. You know, all we're doing is doing what the Lord told us to do, and he's the one that's gathering and bringing in the elect. Okay? So, going back to, let's read that again in St. John 11 and 48. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation, because they were set up to make money. And as Elder Pastor Char brought out a while back, I'm not sure if it was this year or the year before, I remember him speaking about it. He speaks about it from time to time, of how Caiaphas, you know, he was super rich. You know, he had a palace, you know, pretty much he had a mansion. So you got to remember, these guys were getting paid. Then they had, the money changers that were working for them. And they were ripping people off, you know, because you couldn't pay, you couldn't just come with coins from Persia or coins from Greece or coins from Roman coins, you know, or denarius. You couldn't come with different coins from different places and pay your fee to the temple. There was a temple fee, which was a half shekel. So what you had to do is you had to take your money, whatever denomination it was or from whatever country it was, and you had to go to the money changers. And what they would do is they would for a fee, they would give you the what you needed to pay for the temple tax. But what they were doing is they were ripping people off. That's why Yahushua got mad and started beating it and whooping their ass and flipping the tables. And he said, you know, don't make my father's house a den of thieves, you know, because that's written, you know. So that's what was going on. So these individuals were well off. That's why you see like your Pastor Geno Jennings and your Creflo Dollars and your TD Stakes and, you know, all these individuals, and, you know, some of the Ephraimite ones also, which I don't really know too many of you know, in the Jehovah Witness churches and the Spanish Christian churches, but you have them out there, you know, that are getting paid off of the people, you know, and they're not teaching them anything. It's one thing to teach, like the Apostle Paul said, if I sowed unto you spiritual things, shall I not reap your carnal things? Which is nothing wrong with getting paid for doing the work and teaching the word, but you have to be teaching the truth. You can't be teaching just no lie, you know, and just don't be doing it just for that. The Lord is going to provide somehow, some way, you know. So now let's go to the book of Micah 3:1. And I said, here I pray you, O heads of Jacob, and ye princes of the house of Israel. Right? So this is directed at all of the leaders of Israel, whether they in plantation Christianity, and, you know, which is, you know, all the denominations, Baptists, you know, Jehovah's Witness, whatever the case may be, Roman Catholic Church, you know, whether they be in Islam, whether they be in the black conscious community, you know, whether they be in Israel and know that they're Israelites. This message is to all of you Israelite leaders out there, you know, what the Lord is saying to you right now. It says, is it not for you to know judgment? Right. Judgment is something that a leader is supposed to know, because the leaders will sit at the gate with the laws, you know, written all over the place, right? And somebody will come up, two people will come up with a grievance, you know, one against another. And what the judge's job was to do was to listen, hear both sides, and then give a judgment, a just judgment according to the law. That's why I said don't take a bribe, you know, don't take a gift, you know, don't wrestle judgment. If there's a poor man and he did wrong, he still has to pay. Don't countenance him. Don't say, well, you know, he's poor, so, you know, we're just gonna let him slide. No, he still got to pay. That's the law, you know. But what a lot of these leaders are doing is they first and foremost, they don't know judgment because they don't know the scriptures. And the ones that are in plantation Christianity, they're set up and taught under the banner of plantation Christianity. So they speaking, you know, based off of, you know, what they've been taught in plantation Christianity. So their whole judgment is off. So the Lord is saying that you leaders, you're supposed to know judgment, right? It says, who hate the good and love the evil. Right, because you hate the good and you love the evil. Because if you are a so-called pastor or a so-called preacher, you know, or a so-called prophet or deacon or bishop or whatever the case may be, you're supposed to know the Bible. And if you're doing something that's wrong and somebody checks you on it according to the Bible, you're supposed to, you know what, you're right, I was going off. So, and you're supposed to correct that. But they're not going to do that. So when the Israelites come at them and show them that they're going off, what they do, they get angry, they get mad, they blackball, you know, because they hate him that rebuketh at the gate. They don't want to get right. They are comfortable in the situation that they're in. They're comfortable making that type of money. You know, they're comfortable living the lifestyle that they're living. You know, it's just like a person that's famous, making millions of dollars, living a certain particular lifestyle, eating certain types of food, drinking certain types of high-end or high-quality, you know, liquors, you know, wearing certain types of, you know, name brand, you know, trendy, you know, outfits, you know, gators, you know, and just expensive stuff. When they have to downgrade, they don't know how to do that. So these so-called pastors in the churches, they used to live in a certain lifestyle, you know. So that's why I mentioned Pastor Geno Jennings. You know, he took the bag because he's comfortable living that life, you know. At one time he was huffing and puffing, saying certain things that were correct, but now he's reverting back to that vomit, like the scriptures speak about the dog reverting back to the vomit, the sow going back to her wallowing in the mire, you know. So it goes on to say, who hate the good and love the evil, who pluck the skin from off them and their flesh from off their bones. Right, here it is. The Lord has the real men out here teaching and showing Jake who they are, you know, according to the scriptures. You know, you're an Israelite, you know, the curses of Deuteronomy 28 fits us, so on and so forth. You know, the reason why we're in this low condition is so on, you know, because we sinned against the Lord. You know, our main enemy, which are these so-called white men. When you read the Bible, they're known as the Edomites, so on and so forth, right? So here comes these so-called pastors and these plantation Christian leaders, you know, and they say, nope, Deuteronomy 28 does not fit us as so-called quote-unquote black people, Puerto Rican people, whatever the case may be. You know, nope, God is not a black man. That doesn't say he's black. Jesus is not a black man. You know, I'm saying what they say, Jesus, you know, not a black man. Nope, that's off, you know, because it's as sure as Jesus' blue eyes, you know, which where they got that shit from, we don't know, because that's not in the scriptures, you know. But this is the mentality, because they are nothing more than gatekeepers for Esau's plantation Christian white supremacist doctrine. You know, and they've been paid well, and they live in good, and they don't want to give that up. They're greedy. Matter of fact, let's get that. Isaiah 56. Isaiah 56 and 10. It says, his watchmen are blind, they are all ignorant. Yeah, so they're blind and ignorant. That's why the scriptures say, if the blind lead the blind, they shall both of them fall into a ditch. It says, let's read that again. His watchmen are blind, they are all ignorant, they are all dumb dogs. What's a dumb dog? A dog that can't bark. They cannot bark. Right. What does it mean they cannot bark? Why does a dog bark? As a warning sign. Like the dog, everybody in the house might be sleeping, and the dog, you know, might be sleeping, and then he might hear something because they have a very keen sense of hearing. Then all of a sudden the dog get up and he hears something, he start barking. And that's a warning to what? To the master that, look, there's something wrong. And these so-called, you know, pastors in these churches, that's what they're supposed to be doing. When you read the Bible, that's all the prophets were doing, with warning. Let's go real quick to Jeremiah. All they were doing was warning of impending danger, of things that were coming down the pike, warning Jake, look, if you don't get it together, the Lord's going to jack you up. And what happened? They eventually got jacked up. Jeremiah 28:8, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied, both against many countries and against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence. Right. And the job of the prophet is to tell, you know, is to give a warning of what's to come. Ezekiel 3:17, Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me. So when these so-called pastors are reading the scriptures and so-called studying, their job is to, whatever they read and whatever, you know, the Lord reveals to them, they're supposed to warn the people. You've heard Elder Apostle Tara say it time and time again that these pastors, these plantation Christian pastors and plantation Christianity in general, they're not talking about the end of the world. You know, they're not talking about the MOTB. They're not talking about things to come. They're not warning people of impending dangers. They couldn't tell you the first and last thing of why, you know, the supply shortages are coming. They couldn't tell you why the economy is as effed up as it is. They couldn't tell you why are we suffering inflation and on our pretty much in the beginning stages of hyperinflation. They can't tell you any of that because they don't know. So the job of these pastors, you know, and these teachers are to learn these things to warn the people of what's coming, and they're not doing that. So going back to Isaiah 56:10, his watchmen are blind, they are all ignorant, they are all dumb dogs, they cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber, right? Because they're in that comfortable position, you know. Yea, they are greedy dogs, which can never have enough. And that lets you know, when you see the manner of a dog is loyal, but a dog is greedy. If you feed a dog and there's food there, the dog will keep eating and eating and eating and eating. You keep throwing food, it's gonna keep eating it until its goddamn stomach explodes. You know, and that's what these pastors are. They keep eating. They keep, you know, beating the people down, telling them lies, you know. And the reason why they do that is because Jake likes that. They like the sense of being lied to so that they can be in a comfortable position, so that they don't have to worry about anything. Because Jake, truth be told, Jake, that's why the scriptures say that, you know, we're a royal people, because all Jake wants to do is they just want to settle somewhere and just be relax and chill and don't disturb me. And that's pretty much Israel's, you know, spirit, you know. And that's what royal people do. You know, they don't do anything. They just want to just relax, you know, and enjoy the fruits of their labor, you know. And when these pastors get up there and lie to them, that gives them, you know, that justifies their feelings and their thoughts. All right. So it says, let's start here. This is Isaiah chapter 30, verse 8. Now go, write it before them in a table and note it in a book. And we have the book right now. We have the instructions. It says that it may be for the time to come forever and ever, that this is a rebellious people, lying children, children that will not hear the law of the Most High. So if the Lord is telling us this, then why should we be surprised when Jake doesn't listen? The Lord said they're rebellious. They're not going to hear the words of the Lord. That's why anytime you bring out the word, they don't want to hear it. But then they claim to, you know, believe in the Lord. They claim to believe in the Bible. They carry the biggest Bibles around. But then when you start bringing things out of the scriptures, they don't want to accept it. So really, they're not rejecting us. They're rejecting the Lord. It says that this is a rebellious people, lying children, children that will not hear the law of the Lord, which say to the seers, see not. Right. So when you're a real seer and you tell them what's really going on, they don't want to hear it. Just bear me a precept this Canaan. I just want to hold it so I don't forget it. They don't want to hear it. All right, got it. All right, they don't want to hear it. So let's read on. It says, we say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, which is what? Things out of the scriptures. And are they saying it, and are they actually saying, when we go out there and teach and they come confront, look, we don't want to hear about that. Don't tell us about that. No, by their actions. Who wrote that Bible? Man wrote that Bible, you know? Not my Jesus, not my God, you know? And that's indirectly how they're saying that they don't want to hear this word. Prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceit. And that's why these plantation Christian pastors are getting over on these congregations, because they like to hear those smooth things. They like to hear stories. They don't like to hear the scriptures. So they'll tell them a little story. They might throw a scripture here and there. Then the singing and dancing, you know, praise break or whatever the hell they call that. And then the highlight of the whole thing is not the word of the Most High. It's, you know, the fish fry. You know, I'm just letting you know that in 5 minutes, you know, we'll be able to go and eat. You know, I forget exactly how it goes. It's an inside joke. You know, apostles know what I'm talking about. I can't remember exactly. You know, I believe they call him Guy Smiley. You know, but that's the highlight. That's why Yahushua said, look, don't labor for the food which perisheth, but labor for the food which leadeth unto life everlasting, which is this word. And Yahushua even said it himself, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Most High shall he live. So it goes on to say, it says, get you out of the way, turn aside out of the path, cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us. See? So they don't want the truth. They don't want to hear the truth. And this is why these phony pastors, you know, have their way with these congregations, because they're blinded. And these pastors, they know what they're doing. That's why the Lord's going to jack them up too, because they know exactly what they're doing. This is the book of 2 Timothy 4:3. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. Right, because it's about stroking their ego. See, with Jake, when it comes time to worship the Lord, Jake's whole thing is, you know, what can the Lord do for me? You know, the Lord got to work around my schedule. He got to work around my likes and dislikes. So that's why when you see Jake choosing, you know, even among the Israelites, what group they're going to choose, they'll choose a group that caters to them, to their lifestyle. They're not going to listen to the word. They're looking at, okay, well, these guys, you know, if you go to them, you can get married, you can get a job, you can get a career in singing or a hip-hop contract, or, you know, you can prosper, you can go to college, you could do this, you could line your beard up, you know, you can line your hair up, you know, you could do whatever the hell, pretty much you could do whatever the hell you want, and they'll go with them. But when it comes to hardcore teaching, you know, and just serious business, you know, like the Spirit has upon us in Great Millstone, most don't want that, because they like that smooth thing. They like the, you know, those smooth words. And that's just the spirit of Jake. It says, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned unto fables. That's why to this day you have Jakes out there that believe in the virgin birth, that believe in hell, you know, that believe that all nations can be saved, because those are all fairy tales taught by the main fairy tale teller, Esau, through plantation Christianity. And these so-called pastors are upholding this. So let's go back to Isaiah 56:11. Yea, they are greedy dogs which can never have enough, and they are shepherds that cannot bark. They are shepherds that cannot understand. They all look to their own way, everyone for his gain, to his quarter, right? And even these so-called pastors that are so-called learned, they don't know these things. Now, this is where you know, sometimes, you know, we get upset, but we understand that for years, you know, the Spirit had us teaching, you know, before the YouTube era, teaching, you know, and this the information is coming out by the tonnage, and everybody's seeing, everybody's watching. You know, and you have these so-called pastors taking notes, learning, but they won't give credit. They'll act like they came up with it. But what comforts us is, like the Apostle Paul said, that some preach Yahushai not sincerely, not sincerely. You know? So either way, whether you're teaching it in sincerity or not, Yahushai is still going to be taught. But those that are teaching it insincerely are going to be judged by Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So like, let me just get a time check. Okay. Now let's go from there to Micah 3. We can finish out here. So let's start again from the top. Micah 3:1. And I said, hear I pray you, O heads of Jacob, and ye princes of the house of Israel. Is it not for you to know judgment? That's what you're supposed to know. Why? So you can judge the people who hate the good and love the evil. Yeah, so when the truth is being presented to you, you reject it. Who pluck off their skin from off them and their flesh from off their bones. Yeah, because here it is, we're telling Jake that they're Israelites because the Lord is putting that flesh back on them, bringing their bones together, the sinews, putting the flesh back on them. And you have these, plantation Christians that are saying, no, that we're not Israelites. We're Gentiles, blah, blah, this, that, and the other. And they're trying to get Jake away from it. But now what's happening is the Spirit of the Lord has so much information going out there, so much teaching, and so many groups, teaching about Israel, because, for the most part, we all teach that we're Israel, which is a good thing. And there's so much information going out, and so many videos, and so many states, in so many parts of the world, that the Israelites are leaving plantation Christianity. Because the truth is overwhelming. That's that I will give you a mouth of wisdom that none of your adversaries will be able to gainsay nor resist. It says, who also eat the flesh of my people and flay their skin from off them, and they break their bones. Right. So you flaying the skin from off them. Here it is, the Lord is putting the skin on them, and you're ripping it back off of them. The Lord's going to get you, man. All of you clowns. And you guys that straddle the fence, the Lord's going to get you too. You pastors out there that, one moment you're teaching about Israel, then the next moment you're teaching that plantation Christian doctrine, the Lord's going to get you too. Because you're bullshitting. And you have the platform to teach. You obviously can teach because you have followings, but you're not doing it sincerely. And they break their bones and chop them in pieces for the pot and as flesh within the cauldron. Right, so you're taking them just like you take oxtail or you take chicken. Benjamin is good for that. They take chicken and they chop the chicken, like they might have a chicken leg or a chicken thigh or whatever, and they chop it and cut the bone in pieces and throw it all in the cauldron. And that's what you're doing with Jake. You're taking them all, you're making a hodgepodge with Jake in this cauldron. Because eventually what you're doing is you're setting them up for destruction. Because whoever doesn't accept this truth, they're heading for destruction. Narrow is the way that leadeth to life, and very few be that find it. There's a great judgment coming. And that's what the warning is for. And the ones that take heed and do what the Lord commands, they will be protected. But the ones that don't, they will be destroyed. Bottom line. It says, then shall they cry unto the Lord, but the Lord will not hear them. Right, because they're making people believe that they're inspired by the Lord. They pray, oh God and Jesus, and then they're praying, and they're seeing, the people are seeing them and hearing what they're saying, and they, oh man, Pastor so-and-so, he taught a good sermon, so on and so forth, this, that, and the other. But really, they're not teaching them anything. Because you ask them simple, basic questions. What does the name Jesus mean? Yahushai. They don't know. What is the gospel? What is this? What is that? They couldn't tell you. Because they don't necessarily read for themselves. They leave that to the pastor. Now, the Apostle Paul is a man of the Lord. And the Bereans believed him to be so. They believed what he said, but they said that they went back to the scriptures to search those things, to see, so that they could know for themselves. You see? Because at the end of the day, the scriptures say, let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. So how do you become persuaded in your own mind? By going back and studying and searching for these things, and reading it for yourself. And you'll see, okay, well, this brother said so-and-so, such and such, this and that. And he said it was here, here, and there. Or, I was reading and I ran across the scripture in the book of, in the book of Zephaniah. And it was saying exactly what the brother was saying, Boom. And what does that do? That increases your faith. It says, he will even hide his face. So then shall they cry unto the Lord, but he will not hear them. He will even hide his face from them at that time, and as they have behaved themselves ill in their doings. Yeah, because that's ill behavior, what you're exerting out there. Because the word of the Most High is the healing power. That's the herbs. And your other gospel is pretty much turning them back into a spiritual, acidic, mindset. It says, thus saith the Lord concerning the prophets that make my people err, that bite with their teeth and cry peace, and he that putteth not into their mouth, they even prepare war against him. Right. So you're telling the people, you're prophesying peace to them falsely, because you're making them to believe if they do what you say to do, that no harm will come to them, and that's not the case, And then those that don't help you, you prepare war against them. You have plenty of these pastors that talk shit about the Israelites, because they've been paid off. It says, therefore night shall be unto you, that you shall not have a vision. Right. You're not going to be able to, muster up that energy that you do and lie to the people. You're not going to have anything to say. It's just like when somebody's put on the spot and they ask a question that they don't know about, and then they're like stuck. Well, that's what these pastors are going to be like when that time comes. They're not going to have any answers to tell the people, because the Lord is going to strip them of that divining spirit that they got. The Lord is going to strip them of that you shall not have a vision, and it shall be dark unto you, that you shall not divine. And the sun shall go down over the people, over the prophets, and the day shall be dark under them. Right, because they're not going to be able to see. See, right now they got a demon on them, or demons on them, that are allowing them to say the right things, hit the right words, say the right things, to where people are, getting, they get motivated, they get stirred up. But the time is going to come when they're not going to be able to do that. And at that time, that's when Jake is going to figure out that they in a quagmire, they in a jam. Jacob's trouble is going to be in full bloom, and they're going to have no protection. And some of them pastors, they're going to come after them pastors. It says, then shall the seers be ashamed, and the diviners confounded. Yea, they shall all cover them their lips, for there is no answer of the Most High. Right, because at the end of the day, the truth of the Most High is what's going to stand. Everything else is going to be shut down before it's all said and done. That's why the scriptures say, and then shall be known who are my chosen. It says, but truly I am full of power by the Spirit of the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and of judgment, and of might, to declare unto Jacob his transgression, and to Israel his sin. Why? So that they can repent. And that is the job of the prophet. Let them know where they're going off at, and what can they do in order to get back into the good graces of the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, so that when all hell breaks loose, they can be protected. Isaiah 58:1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up your voice like a trumpet, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins. Right, so that they can acknowledge and repent. It says, hear this, I pray you, ye heads of the house of Jacob. Back again to the leaders. It begins with the leaders. When you go to Ezekiel the 8th chapter, the ones that were committing those acts were the leaders. You know, the sellouts. We were reading in the book of John, the 11th chapter, about the wicked Pharisees and them that were leaders, that were in a position that the Romans put them into. To what? To pacify the people. It says, and princes of the house of Israel, that abhor judgment and pervert all equity. Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're not bringing a balance. You're not bringing true judgment. Because true judgment equals less members. True judgment equals your congregation shrinking. True members, true equity or true judgment equals, you know, less dollars in your pocket. And we know that these pastors are all about that dollar. You know, they need dollars. Dollars is what they need. And that's what they do it for. They do it for the money. That's why scriptures say, don't do this for filthy lucre's sake. And Most High gonna get you, man. He gonna get y'all, man. He gonna get y'all, man. He gonna get yours, money. It's like a dove just jumped on me. I've been serious the whole lesson, so I guess. They built up Zion with blood, see, and Jerusalem with iniquity, right? They build up Zion with blood and Jerusalem with iniquity. Why? Because what you're doing is you're justifying what Jake is doing, you know, by telling them that it's okay. Let's go to the book of Proverbs 17 and 15. He that justifieth the wicked and he that condemneth the just, even they both are abomination to the Lord. That's right. They're both abomination. So if you justifying the wicked and if you're condemning the just, you're both an abomination to the Lord. That's why it says in Micah 3 and 10, they build up Zion with blood and Jerusalem with iniquity. The heads thereof judge for what? For reward. It's not out of sincerity. It's for a reward. Matter of fact, let's get that word reward real quick. That's Micah 3. Micah chapter 3, verse 10. I'm sorry, 11. For they judge for reward. The word reward is shachad. Shachad. Present. Bribe. Yep. And we know bribe is not good. Because, the matter of fact, let's look up the word bribe. The word bribe. Come on, man. Bribe. Payment made to a person in a position of trust to corrupt his judgment. Ooh. See, payment made to a position to a person in a position of trust to corrupt his judgment, pretty much. And that then there was just a precept that came to mind. Let me read that again. See, hopefully. Oh yeah. Let's go real quick to Exodus. Exodus 23 and 1. Thou shalt not raise a false report, put not thine hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shalt thou speak in the cause to decline after many to wrest judgment. Right. There's another one. Is it in here? This is all good. Right, here it goes. Verse 6. Let's start at 6. Thou shalt not wrest the judgment of thy poor in his cause. Keep thee far from a false matter, and the innocent and righteous slay thou not. For I will not justify the wicked. Yeah, we read this all over the place. You know? It says, and thou shalt take no gift, for the gift blindeth the wise, and perverteth the words of the righteous. So that's what it said. Look, don't take a gift, because what happens is you might have a man that's rich and you might have a man that's poor. The man that's rich always, for the most part, commits the wrong against the poor. But because the man is rich and he gives you a gift and the poor man can't pay you, what do? You wrestle the judgment and you give label the righteous man, the righteous poor man, guilty, when it was really the rich man that was guilty. You see? And that's how it goes down. So now let's go back to Micah 3:11. The heads thereof judge for reward, and the priests thereof teach for hire, and the prophets thereof divine for money. Yet will they lean upon the Lord and say, Is not the Lord among us? None evil can come upon us. And that's what they're doing. They're giving Jake a false hope that when all hell breaks loose, they're going to be taken care of. But they're not even telling them that all hell is going to break loose. Damn, man. It's almost run the kid over. They don't know that all hell is going to break loose. But they give them that false sense of hope that, that they're gonna be, all right, no matter what. It says, therefore shall Zion for your sakes be plowed as a field, and Jerusalem shall become heaps, and the mountain of the house as the high places of the forest. Now back then, yeah, Jerusalem did become heaps, but now in this time, the people of Jerusalem, they're going to become heaps. They're going to be, in a bad spot when Jacob's trouble, is in full bloom. We're fast approaching that, man. We're in the beginning stages of hyperinflation. That's why one day the gas price will be one thing, and then maybe a couple of days later it'll be 20 cents more, and then the following week it'll be another 10 cents more. But when hyperinflation is fully in place, then it's gonna go like from $5 to $10. Then you're really in super hyperinflation. So the time is coming. It's gonna get real out here, man. So it said they took the bag and they forsook the Lord, because at the end of the day, that's their motivation. Yahushua said, from the abundance of the heart, man speaketh. So whatever is in a man's heart, that's what he's gonna speak. And they took that bag, and if they were really sincere, they would teach the truth. But they know that teaching the truth doesn't make much money. You see, and that's why they rather teach the falsehoods that they teach, so that they can continue getting that bag and continue living that lavish lifestyle, whether they know that they're Israelites or whether they're in the world. Either or, because it goes for the leaders in Israel that know that they're Israelites, and the ones outside of Israel that don't know that they're Israelites. So with that, I pray that you brothers have been edified, and you few sisters. Until the next time I say shalom.